All right, so welcome to our community chat for this week. I am excited to talk about, we're continuing our series about everything virtual, everything in the virtual world. We're talking today about interviews and onboarding. And like I said, I'm Bianca Marie, and I am honored that you're joining me and us in this space. I wanted to just welcome everybody, go through introductions really quickly, which we already started, which is awesome. In the chat, we're going to go over some logistics, some basic components, again, of the virtual interviews, some effective interview tips, and then quickly talk about some the onboarding process that we can do in this virtual world. And then next week, if you're able to join us. So 2-second background about myself, because I know some of you may not know me, some of you have been invited different ways. I'm Bianca Marie. My background is in public health. Been doing that for years, forever. My entire career has been dedicated to women's health, from everything from healthcare administration, running women's clinics, to public health programs dedicated to improving health disparities among different populations, disadvantaged populations, as well as full spectrum doula. So what this is all about, this community, this chat, what it literally is all about is that it came about with having conversation with different doulas, and we're just grappling with our new world, our new way of doing things, and sharing ideas. And over coffee and tea, I was like, you know what, there's probably other doulas that are asking the exact same questions. And so you're here from many ways, different avenues. Some of you by invite from others, some of you received email. I've reached out to different organizations that I'm part of and I know of in the area, and said, hey, we're doing this thing called a chat, invite your folks if you want to. So some have forwarded my email out that way. Some we have actually just looked up different directories from different training programs that we know of and said, hey, let's just invite people. If they're interested, they can join. And this is just an open community. All are welcome from all walks of life, backgrounds. Aspiring doulas, been a doula for 30 years. It's totally the spectrum. So excited for you to be here. So we put already in the chat where we're from. If there's any questions or anything like that that I missed from the chat, feel free to take yourself off of mute and throw it out there as we go through. So welcome everybody. So hopping right into it, logistics. So in our virtual world, some things are, let me admit folks, some things are pretty much the same, and then there's a lot of things that are different. And so what does that look like, and what does that consist of as us as doulas trying to be responsive? And some of the ways that we can do that is, of course, having a virtual presence when we're doing these interviews. It can be as simple as just FaceTime. It can be as simple as doing Zoom, like we're doing now, or Google Hangout, or some other software. A lot of them are free, and then some of them are paid. So it's up to you to figure out what's best for you. I've just asked, a lot of times I don't automatically go to Zoom or another software. I ask the client, the potential client, what do they have? Do they have FaceTime? Is that more comfortable for them, or Google Hangout? So kind of polling and seeing what's available to your client just to make it easy for them. So it could be what you want to use. Scheduling, I found that myself and talking to other doulas that are doing a lot of virtual work right now, is that they found their interviews are at different times than what they normally are in person. So you don't have to think about traffic and commuting, well, depending on where you are. So we're talking to folks that are still in quarantine, some that are out now. So depending on where you are, they found that they've had a lot more interview slots early morning versus afternoon and evening, which is quote unquote in our normal time when we found we were doing most of our interviews. So being flexible with the scheduling. To do that, you can use things simple as Google Calendar and Calendly. I love Calendly just because you can you open your schedule, and then for any client who wants to schedule, you already have blocked off what times you're available, and they simply just accept one of those times, put their contact information in there, and it's pretty much set up. So you don't have to go back and forth with the email as to, well, are you available this time? Are you available this date? Some sort of scheduling software can certainly help make it a little bit easier. For the phone, so I've had some in-person interviews that have lasted 2 hours or maybe even a little bit more. But it started off as the interview, but it was at, in the home. And then it ended up being a tour of the home, tour of the nursery. We had tea. So it became a little bit more than just a typical interview. But I wouldn't recommend that for virtual interviews. I have found this sweet spot for myself in talking about other doulas, that is usually about 45 minutes or less if you can. Don't want to make it too long, especially if they're doing FaceTime and holding a phone, and especially if they're trying to do things at home, maybe have other children and so forth. So you want to try to do it 45 minutes or less for that interview. All right. And I'm trying to keep my eye on the chat as well. So background with the logistics is you want to make sure you're prepared. And I know I'm probably preaching to the choir, but I feel we want to make sure we, dot all of our I's, across all of our T's. Even though most of us are home, many of us are home, you want to make sure you're comfortable. You're in your home, you're in your space. Like, welcome you all to my home. This is one of my spaces. It's comfortable for me, but you still want to look professional. So you want to, from, I guess, the top half up, want to wear attire that is professional. Workspace, you want to make sure that it's somewhere quiet, pleasing to the eye. It could be outside in your backyard, it could be in your office space, it could be anywhere, but you just want to make sure that the space isn't distracting wherever you are. And agenda, this is a big one, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail, but you want to make sure it's concise and informative. So you, especially over the phone, you want to try to control that conversation a little bit more than probably would in person, because in person you can pick up some of the more clues, some of the more body language and things like that to know, okay, done with that topic, or let's go to the next one, or oh, that might be a touchy subject, or maybe uncomfortable. So you want to just make sure that you're very concise, because you're going to be able to pick up some clues, but probably not all the same clues that you would be in person having this discussion virtually. So yeah, we'll go into a little more detail about what that means, informative. And notes. So chat, you can use the chat feature if you are doing something like Zoom or another software. You want to just take notes, you can use the chat feature, so that way you both can put information in as to what's important as you go through that discussion. And then that's the easy way to have a record of the key topics that you talked about, and you can email it out afterwards, or you can use that as for part of your follow-up conversation or follow-up emails and communication. So in a nutshell, be prepared. Same thing we would do in person, but just want to think of what could be presented a little bit different virtually than in person. So get into some of the key components, and these are things that I've thought of and things that I've heard about a lot from other doulas, and it's not exhaustive. So as you all know, every time we come together, these are just recommendations, suggestions, ideas that have worked for us, and this is why we have the conversation, so we can throw even more on the table. So it's not an exhaustive list, but some key points to remember when we're doing virtual interviews. And the first one is the goals. Like, what are you trying to get out of the goals? So when you finish that interview, whether it's in person, but especially virtually, you want to be able to say, okay, now what exactly did we accomplish everything I wanted to get out of it? And one is the attendance. This is a big one for me. I try, when I get these interviews and I set them up, I try to make sure everybody that's most important that needs to be there is there. For example, I've had some clients where the grandmother, especially in different cultures, the grandmother was a decision maker. The mom was as well, but it really was the grandmother that was the decision maker, because that was her role in the family. And so when I had the interview with the mom, I wanted the grandmother to be there, so the grandmother could ask me questions as well. So the grandmother feels comfortable and understands the role of a doula, then it would go better with their decision. And so that's what I mean by making sure you have the right folks in attendance to that interview. And it's a little bit easier virtually. I've had some with FaceTime, we've had 3 or 4 people, and we just added them into the FaceTime call. So you want to have the mom, of course, the helper, the partner, the spouse, whomever it is, and any other decision maker. You just want to try to get them all in that conversation, an interview. This is one that I have a chat about a lot with, especially some of the newer doulas, is that the interview is not just one way. You want to make sure it's 2-way. So it's reciprocal. You're getting information and insight, and you're sharing information and insight, right? So you want to make sure that it's a good fit for both of you. So that's definitely a goal. And overview. You want to make sure you share the purpose of your role as a doula. So what you do as a doula, what you don't do as a doula, the value, like how it is that their life can be enhanced, how it is that life will be better, as in their delivery experience. You can have how you support that preparation, the delivery, and then even afterwards. So sharing that value is something that you want to get across in that interview. And needs and expectation. That's information you want to get. What are their needs? What are they expecting? When they say postpartum help, what does that mean for them? Because that could be different for each family. Not only different from each doula, but different from each family. So you want to get that clarity in that interview time. That's a great time to get into that conversation, to really pull back the curtain and say, okay, so what is it that you're looking for? And when they say, oh, I need help at home. So what does that look like? You know, what are the main things you would need help with? So that just having that clarifying conversation about needs and expectation. Services, sharing with them what your services are that helps meet those needs and expectations. So maybe it's going over a package that you put together for them. And then the next steps. So after you have the interview, what's next? What do they need to do, or what are you going to do to solidify that relationship or that contract? Or is it another discussion later? Do they need to go on your website and do something? Do they need to send an email? Or do they need to look for an email out from you with a contract? What's the next step? So those just high level as to what you want to get out of that particular interview. And some C's of virtual interviewing. And again, these are just common things that we just want to make sure we highlight that could be a little different. You may need to tease it out a little differently in our virtual world. And that is understanding the characteristics. And that's really goes to the observations and that two-way, that reciprocal interview. Is you want to get the characteristics. So you want to understand, really who they are, their personality. Well, for example, one of my clients was she's a comedian. Like, she's just, that's not her job or anything, but she is absolutely hilarious. And that was one of the first takeaways in my, first probably 2-3 minutes of our interview. I was like, I was laughing, I was having big belly laughs. And that was one of the takeaways that I took and literally noted it down, was that, comedy. She's funny. And in her delivery, this was pre-COVID, but in her delivery, she didn't want affirmations. She didn't want sounds of music. She didn't want anything like that. She wanted comedy. And so we had stand-up comedy that was recorded just from YouTube videos and things. And she laughed and we laughed, and that was part of her coping mechanisms with delivery. And so that's what I'm saying, is figure out what kind of characteristics that stands out from you, from their home, anything you can glean like that virtually that can help you understand that family and the dynamics a little bit more. Childbirth experience, definitely want to find out, any previous pregnancies or deliveries. Don't want to make an assumption that previous pregnancy equal a delivery, because it could have been medically necessary abortion, it could be a stillbirth, who knows? And so want to be sensitive in that, but get an understanding as to any previous childbirth experience. Children, understand the family structure, other kids, ages of them, needs of them, because that can certainly let you know, inform you before you go into your packages and services that you're going to offer, as to if they're expecting for you to do something with the siblings or do something with the other children in the home as their doula. Also, concerns. So what concerns does the mom have? What concerns does the partner have, the grandmother, whomever else is on the call? What kind of concerns are they having about not only the pregnancy, but any concern about the hospital, or especially in these times with COVID, you want to make sure you're clear as to what they may be worried about. So then that way you can help strategize and maybe even alleviate those concerns if you can, right then and there, or build that into your relationship with them to help them through their journey. And other C's, and then I'm going to check the chat box in just a minute. Changes. So in your interview, you want to be clear of explaining and expressing to them what kind of changes due to the virtual world or to COVID that they can expect. Any changes in how you operate as a doula, any changes in their environment. One of the questions you certainly can ask is, have they thought about where they want to give birth? And so you can talk about maybe any changes that are happening with that particular facility or hospital. Then coverage. So that's where you want to, when they're interview, you want to make sure you cover or explain your services or what will be offered. It could be simply as going over your packages and what's covered or included in that, as well as any add-on options that you have. Your contract, so again, we want to keep the interview kind of on a shorter side where you're doing a lot of listening, but you do want to get some basic details, logistics out of the way. So one of that is the contracts and the costs or the investment for the package or packages that you recommend for them. And then cheerleading. So just throughout it all, again, it's a two-way, but you want it to be a discussion. You want it to be a fact-finding discussion where you lace through in there encouragement and show who you are as a person, but then how you can support them and how you're going to be, her biggest cheerleader or their biggest cheerleader. So you want to make sure you lace that as well through the interview discussion. So those are just some basic components that you want to make sure are included when you're having we recommend that you include when you're having that interview virtually. So again, many of these things are in person. You certainly will still address, but you may have to address them a little bit differently. For example, in person, you may have, that has your information, your service packages or the cost of things. So virtually, you may find that you need to put more on your website, or you may want to drop this information into, Google Drive or Google Folder, and then you all walk through it together virtually. So it's just a matter of making sure you still address the components, but then figure out what you may need to do to modify that to make sure the message is clear and concise, that it comes through well, and it shows that you're prepared and that you can assist them virtually. So before I go forward, let me hop to the chat. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Somebody sees a typo. Yep, I'm sure there's going to probably be more than one. So, but thank you for calling that out. Let's go to the top. Tashana from South Carolina. Okay, just wanted to see if there's any questions I missed. I wanted to make sure we addressed them before we went on. And I can, I'll just pause for just a second as I'm looking through the chat. If anybody has any particular questions, certainly call it out. You can call it out now before we move on. Oh, okay. So Melinda, you have a question on virtual interviews, how to answer questions on support for dad and support after traumatic birthing experiences. Whew, good question, good question. And so when you are having that conversation about childbirth experiences or the past experiences, that's something that you want to get not only from the mom, but also if the support person or helper or the dad is there, also, turn to them and pose the question if you can to them as well and say, I don't know, Bob, what was your experience like? Or Bob, what would your expectations be, especially after traumatic ones? You want to make sure they know that you are seeing them as a pair, as a partner, as a couple. It's not just her, but you also will be helping address some of the needs that he has in order to help support her as well. And you may want to, so I have some services that are geared just to dads or just to the helper or the partner. And so you may want to consider when you're describing your package, anything that you specifically point out that helps the partner. Like for example, I have a daddy guide or partner guide, and it's literally it's an ebook. It's a couple pages, I think maybe 8-10 pages or so, and it goes over some tips as a partner to help the mom at home, nutrition, in the house, before and after. And so I do some certain things like that that's geared towards the partner that could help when you're answering those questions about how do you help, the dad or the partner. You can just run off the list of different things like that, either a part of your package that you can modify or you help for him. as well as any sort of literature that you share for the dads. Like I have a book list, a reading list specifically for partners. So just want to incorporate in there anything that you have specifically for them into your answers. So Karen, so you say, what do they do when they ghost you? So what do you mean? So is that when you mean you do the interview and then you don't hear anything? Or you can call out, Karen, give me a little bit more background to that question. We can talk about it. Okay. Christia, yeah, we can definitely
Sorry,
add.
yeah, I just came back. Yeah, so like there's a couple, at least 3 or 4 people who I meet with, and I never hear back from them. One instance, I heard back from the grandmother saying, "Oh yeah, the baby was born."
Oh.
I'm like, okay, I guess they don't need my help, but you know,
Yeah.
like they just I never hear back from them. Like, do I take it personally? What am I doing wrong? You know?
Yeah, so one of the questions that I ask, and I think I may have put it in here, we'll get to it, but one of the questions I ask in the interview, I always ask is, are you in the beginning stages of your search for a doula? Are you already interviewing others? So I get to the point of, am I one of many that you're interviewing? So then that just lets me know in the back of my mind that if I don't hear anything from you, then I just know you went for another option. The other thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, okay, yeah, I asked that question too. So
you do, and then do you find? Go ahead. You find that they're honest with you, and then that's part of the people that are ghosting, or
I think they're honest. It's hard because I don't know them personally. You know, these are people I meet at like a Panera, and I really don't know them, so it feels hard. I guess people have said don't take it personally, but it's hard.
Yeah, it could be a factor. It could be various things. It could be that. It could be also that they may have not have known what the doula was going to offer or what the doula was. It could be a whole host of things. So I definitely wouldn't take it personally. Another thing that I have found, and this is totally not scientific or anything like that, but depending on how far the mom is in the pregnancy, I have found that if she's 12 weeks or so and they were reaching out for the interview, it doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't go well. It just means that they have a whole lot of time to do a whole lot of interviews, a whole lot of doulas and things. But if they are closer to the finish line or closer to delivery, not like a week out, but I'm talking about like 3 or 4 months or so, then I usually have a response rate. And so those are just things that I found, but it could be a host of other reasons. So everybody, let us know. Do you have the experience also with ghosting, and what have you found as some reasons as to possibly why? Put it in the chat or call it out. Let us know. But I understand, Karen. I understand what you mean now. For sure. Okay, so I think we answered your question. Melinda, let me know if we answered your question or if we need to talk a little bit more.
Yes,
I can get my mom to know about postpartum doulas and virtual doulas. They might not have Zoom, so we can do FaceTime. Yeah, so for sure, yeah, you can do whatever software or whatever is available to them. If FaceTime, they just have an iPhone or something, definitely do that. Postpartum doulas and virtual doulas, a lot of it is just a training, awareness, and word of mouth. And then also partnership with any hospitals. For example, a lot of the doulas I know in this area do multiple things, right? So they do training also. And so when they are doing trainings, maybe like a childbirth educator training, they're also lacing in their conversation about the doula and the value of a doula. And so that's the new audience that they're sharing information that may have not even known what a doula was or the doulas were available. And so a lot of it is just word of mouth and just continuing sharing what a doula is in different ways. Yeah. Okay. Oh, Julie, you said create PowerPoints. Yeah, so especially if you find that you may not have a whole lot of time with the mom. So the mom says you only have 30 minutes or 20 minutes or, dinner coming up or whatever. If you have a PowerPoint, that certainly can help, or some sort of one pager. You know, if you don't want to put too much energy into it, if you're not sure how it's going to go, you can even do a one pager, but something that can help frame the conversation. You have a clear agenda and you can hit it and quit it. So definitely. Yeah, Megan, I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you're new, like I just completed my program, like just the birth class and stuff like that. So my question is, how do you convince someone, even you don't have any birth experience, or how do you convince them that, hey, I could be the best doula for you? So
it's about knowledge, right? It's about skills and knowledge. And so you constantly lace in your knowledge and your professional, how you have professionalized it. For example, if just because you have done 3 births doesn't necessarily mean that you know everything, right? But at the same time, you, as just finishing your training and participating in these chats, like you are constantly trying to learn more, trying to, you know, be around other doulas with more experience. And so I think at the end of the day, even if you don't have that number, if you don't have 30 births or 20 births under your belt yet, you can certainly in the interview make sure that you are very clear with your skills and your knowledge on the various topics that you go throughout your interview, which is another reason why you want to make sure you clear the agenda and the areas that you want to go into, especially in depth. And that can come across as you being the expert. So the number is important, but your expertise is most important. For example, if the mom says that she's concerned about pain, you know, I've heard from my girlfriends, it's the most horrible pain in the world and that sort of thing, then you would go into what you know about pain coping strategies, you know, or relaxing strategies. So you can still show the mom that you're knowledgeable and that you're educated and that you can provide value to her with her concerns or whatever areas that you're talking about, even though you don't have, for example, the numbers under your belt. So it's just having that game of making sure you share your skills of what you know. And the numbers will come, but even with the numbers, you still will learning. So, but always convey your experience, your skills, and your knowledge.
As a newer doula myself, I've only been doing this for about 2 years now. But when I first started, I would get, you know, how many births have you been to? And I would be like, 1. Yeah. So what I started, like I found this amazing blog post that I read, and they were talking about how to market yourself as a new doula. Like whenever you start anything new, you have so much passion behind it. So sell your passion. Like you were new at this, you have all this new information. It's right at the top of your brain. You know what I mean? You literally just went through the course. You just read the books. You just did all of the things. So it's all fresh for you. Yeah. And all the passion that you have behind this, sell that to your clients.
Yeah, for sure. And another way is partner with mentors. I do it all the time. If my client is fine with it, my newer doulas in my community that I know, I have them come. And so that's the way that they're getting the experience and getting some numbers under their belt, as well as being able to have experiences that they can talk about with potential clients. So also just connect with your community.
I'm in the Philadelphia area, so I don't know if anyone is in that area.
All right, y'all, work the chat out. Anybody in the Philly area, let Polly know.
See, I'm from Dover, so I'm not too far from you, but
you're far enough. I used to live in Bear, so
okay.
It's a drive.
I do know some doulas closer to you, so if you want to find me after the chat, I can help you find some people that are close to you.
All right, thank you.
Awesome. That's exactly what we're here for. Oh, great, Julie. I'm glad you're getting something from it. Awesome. Sarah, this was made with Canva. I don't know what we did before Canva. All right. Offer added at first meeting since people want to sign right then your contract. Yeah, absolutely. If you you want to have your contract available, that is you definitely want to have your contract available, because if folks are ready to go right then yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you can use that time to go over the details. Okay. Oh yeah, Karen, so you created a pamphlet. Okay, yeah, that's exactly what I would recommend. So situation I need more professional person. So as a postpartum doula, I've run into situations where I needed a more professional specialist on lactation. Yeah, absolutely. I partner with them all the time. Is that put into the contract ahead of time so the person is available? What I do is, if I don't necessarily put it in my welcome package or my contract, but I do have a list of folks that I refer out to or partner with constantly, and so they're not, so I can speak to that, that service will be available, but I don't necessarily put it in the contract because I need to confirm that person's time. And so sometime along that journey, whether it's that month or the next month or something like that, I make sure that they do get connected. So the service is a part of my contract, and I let them know that it will be available, but I don't go into the details of saying when or anything like that in the contract because that can vary. I have a questionnaire. Oh, Molly, that's a great suggestion. So you do a questionnaire for partners. Awesome. When we present the contract, I go through the Julie, I go through the contract in the interview, based on what they tell me what their needs are in the interview. Then I don't go through line by line word for word for the contract, but I point out the key areas that they need to know about, like the packages and the cost and timing, those sorts of things. And so you want to start having the contract conversation in the very first discussion. In the process of Antoinette, you're in the process of finding 3 clients to complete your certification. Great. How different should my contract be compared to experienced doula aside from rates? So everybody's contracts are a little different. Antoinette, if I'll try to remember, but we went through, was it last week, guys? Y'all tell me, remind me, weeks were going by. It was last week or the week before, where we went into detail. We talked about the different contracts and the components of it. So even as an experienced doula versus a new doula, a lot of the information is the same. So everybody's contract needs to be geared towards them anyway. So there's always going to be some differences there. Besides the rate, you want to make sure, like, you as a new doula may not offer as many services or be diversified with your services as maybe an experienced doula is. So that may be one key area. You as a new doula may have different pricing packages or so forth. So there may be some differences, but I say that to say I'll make sure you get the information that we went over last week, where we went into details about contracts. Karen, I think we talked about referral to specialists. I need it. Yeah, Jerry, you're absolutely right. Yeah, Julie said, don't take it personal. I know it's hard though. I know it's hard, but yeah, don't take it personal. It could be for various reasons. They could not have the funding that they thought they were going to have for, it could certainly be from all sorts of things. All right, so let me go back. All right, so we have a lot of comments. Any resources specifically on COVID-19 when the support person is still working outside? Yeah, so I found a lot of resources, it's a combination of not anything that I've created or anything, but I found some more resources about like what you should do, washing your hands, and what you should do like soon as you come home, those sorts of things. But there's more from different federal agencies that I can make sure we share out. They're really more like one pager, like recommendation guides. Okay, so let me pause. If there's any key questions that people need to call it out, and I'll go back to the chat, but let's just get through the last couple of slides and then we can open up totally for the chat. Okay. All right, so quick effective tips as we are going through our interviews virtually. Mentioned it before, and I don't want to belabor it, but I do want to belabor it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Be very concise as to what we're trying to accomplish in the interview. Don't get overwhelming. Don't try to go over, every single line of your package, every single line of your contract, the last 20 years of their lives. You want to be very concise, but you want to be very poignant. Time bound, again, want to keep it less than an hour if you can. Storytelling, this is something I think is very, very important, and that goes kind of to your question, Polly, is that you want to, when you're answering the questions, how long have you been a doula? 2 years. Okay, that didn't really give so much. So you want to try storytelling in some of your responses. So it is, I've been a doula for 2 years, and in that time, I've had the experience of working with multiples, twins or more. I've had the experience of working with deliveries that came early, so premature babies. I've had the experience of overnight, whatever it is. The point is you want to share your expertise. You want to share your value, how you may be different than other doulas. And more importantly, you want to be yourself. You want to get your personality across so they know you, become comfortable with you, like you, and have that trust factor value. So in your responses, you don't just want to give the black-white answer. You want to give more of a storytelling answer where you walk them through a journey or walk them through a story. If they're talking about, pain coping, or they're talking about nutrition, then you, in your answer, is not just, yeah, I know some things that we can do to help you with your nutrition. I know some things that can help you eat afterwards or have a well-balanced meal. You want to say, yeah, I do know that. In fact, I'm certified in this, or in fact, I have an ebook on this, or in fact, I have some couple ideas as to some quick smoothies that you may want to take afterwards, and they have this and this and this and this in it, and those ingredients can help you with this. Is it like you just want to put it in a package, because again, you were trying to get the most out of your 45 minutes or so with them. So try answering more in the storytelling, more descriptive responses that show your expertise, that show your value and your personality. And also, most important, listen. Listen. That's why we have 2 ears and only 1 mouth. Listen, because you're listening when when you ask them questions and when they're sharing information, they're going to share with you their needs and their expectation. But then also through there, you can also find opportunities to hear what's kind of unspoken or what's indirectly that they may have as expectations. And so you want to take all that in. So again, this is why it's a 2-way conversation and it's a 2-way interview. All right, so virtual onboarding. After you've done this conversation, this interview, then what I found is effective is definitely want to have the thank you response. So if it's a thank you welcome packet, so they signed the contract right then and there, then it's a welcome packet. You can hand it to them. Again, if that's your situation and you're able to meet in person. But if it's totally virtual, what I like to do is I have a follow-up email. There's a thank you email, and in it also has a thank you video. It's a quick video of me, and I'm just saying, thank you for spending the time with me today. And again, I was getting to know you and your family a little bit more. And some key reminders key points that came out of our discussion, as well as reminders. For example, one of them may be, if you're ready to sign with me, here's the link for the contract. You can just sign it and I'll, send it back to me, and I will send it back to you, a copy back to you within 24 hours. Or if you want to sign it, then you can do it, and here's where you would make the deposit or the amount of deposit. So you want to I like to do as a very first step is that thank you follow-up. With those key points. And within 48, 72 hours, especially if you don't hear anything, I always do follow up either over the phone or again by email in this virtual world. And again, in that follow up, I am saying how I can help them, how they can leverage my expertise and my services, and how that can help meet their goals that they stated to me in their interview. And so I'm regurgitating what's important for them and how I can fit into that. And then client portal. So if you have a CRM system or a customer relationship management system, then you can create them an account or a profile. Or if it's simply that, they sign a contract and you want to make sure that you have an area where you both can access not only the contract, but anything else that you want to share with them. For example, if you find the policy has changed at one of the hospitals, then you may store that in the Google Drive, and then you give them access to it. If you want to give, you talk about, hospital bag, you may have a hospital bag checklist, then you may want to put that in a portal. So somewhere, someplace, especially in the virtual world, you just want to have an area that you both can access that has some information that you agreed upon, the information that you want to share with them. And so literally in those 3 steps is what I do. And it usually is pretty sufficient in making sure that we have clear communication and we follow that journey to getting them their contract signed and getting started. So let's go quickly. I think there's a couple more pieces in the chat that we want to go to. So Sade said, yeah, storytelling is amazing. Yeah, it doesn't make you, it definitely shows your personality and makes everybody feel more comfortable. The video, yeah, the video is quick and easy because again, they want to get to know you. So Jerry, yeah, Tracy, to your contacts on your website. So Jerry, you said I worked a certain amount per hour. How do you handle the payment and the job? What if she has a question and then later wants to talk about something else? It won't be consistent like hands-on doula. So what I do and what I recommend is I don't do by hour, just because, you know, birth can be 4 hours, the birth can be 14 hours or more. So I don't necessarily do per hour. So what I would recommend is just maybe modifying your contract so it's more of a payment for the entire job, not necessarily by hour. And what I also do is the payment structure. And so if you're worried about getting paid for the job, especially in this virtual space, there's some doulas that ask for all the funds up front before they start. And then there's some that say 50%. You may want to do 33, you know, 33. Whatever the case is, you may want to structure a little bit differently so then you're not having to worry about, in the event that you're worried about getting paid, you may want to get more upfront than after the fact. And if you want to add something else, so in the contract, one of the things that I do, we talked about it a little bit last week too, is I have a bonus portion or bonus package that's added to the contract. So in the event that they want to modify their contract, or they want to add another service, you know, maybe they didn't think they wanted more help on lactation, or they didn't think they wanted meal planning or something like that when we first signed the contract, and now the baby's home, they're home, and they don't know what to do with meal planning, then that's something that we can certainly add. So having that flexibility built into your contract with a bonus package or add-on options can help with that. Okay, storytelling, cloth diapering. Whoo, cloth diapering is fun. I even did cloth diapering a little bit. It was something. Let me see. What is your question though about it, Sarah? Sarah, let me know if you had a question about cloth diapering or fluff loving CD.
No, someone else was talking about resources for diapers, so I was thinking that was a good Facebook group.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Thanks, Sarah. All right. Yeah, okay, I love the ideas that are flowing. Oh, Molly, that's great. Say I'm newly trained doula with the number of hours of training. Yeah, that's a good way to phrase it. Okay. Yep, so Tasha, you know about the diaper Facebook group too. Christy, you like to replay on the notes on the contract? Yeah, we can get that out to you about the contracts. So the video itself is actually in the birth worker community that's being launched in June. So excited for that. So let me go to that now. So if this is a totally new area for you and you're feeling a little overwhelmed, or you want to go a little bit more detail about the virtual space that we're working in, whether it's contracts, whether it's interviews. So we are excited to offer the Blooming Birth Worker Community. That's being launched in June 1st. And so every month in the community, we talk about different things. And every week, there's different resources that are released to members of the community. For example, in June, we're going to have a virtual boot camp. I don't know if Rachel's on the call, but it was one of her suggestions where we have interview times. And so if you want to come in, you want to practice doing interviews with new clients, we'll have a boot camp to do that, interview sessions. If you want to go into more detail and have folks review your contract, your packages, the pricing of your package, your pricing strategy. We're going to go into that type of detail, as well as trainings are available in the community. So we're going to go into a little more detail about how to more interaction, more demonstration of what you would do when this would happen in labor, a virtual labor that you're supporting, or a virtual birth that you're supporting. What would you do in this type of situation? So that for labor as well as postpartum. So June is all about the virtual world. It's a virtual celebration. If anybody's interested in the community, if you sign up before June 1st, it is a subscription-based community, then you'll be signing up as a founding member, which locks you into a lower subscription price than those who sign up after June 1st. So our next chat will be next Friday, and I want to know, we've had a couple suggestions put out there, but you all let me know, what do we need to talk about going forward? Any ideas that you have? The two topics that we had for next week was that either working with multiples virtually or working with an agency, of course it's a typo there, an agency, or collaborating with others. So whether it's a midwife, whether it's collaborating with another doula to provide support, which one of those two topics would you be interested in? Or a totally third topic, let me know. So let me know in the chat what you're interested in. Okay, so I see collaborations, multiples. Okay, so yeah, so y'all let me know, just put it in the chat, and then I'll go through and see what's the most recommended or requested, and we'll go from there. So okay, collaborating, yeah, collaborating agency, yeah, because working with agencies are a little bit different, and so especially for the newer doulas, I do think it's important to talk about that. So that can be an option, or multiples collaborating. Okay, so I think it's a little bit mixed right now. So I will go through here because I want to be as helpful as we can. So I'll go through and see what the outcome is, and I'll put it in the email. So the next email will say what exactly it is, which one of those topics we're going to talk about. All right, so we have a couple more minutes, so I want to make sure we answer any other questions. So Megan, I didn't take a training necessarily for meal planning, but I took training for nutrition, and that has helped a lot. And that's in the community that I was talking about. We are going to have a session specifically on that. And I have a dietitian that's going to come and do that for us. And so that's part of the community, is that different topics, we're going to have experts or SMEs that will, subject matter experts that will go into detail and do these master classes that are offered each month on different topics. And meal planning is definitely going to be one of them. So Ainsley, yeah, I'll definitely send out the PowerPoint. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure, were there any questions that I missed that we need to talk about as a group? You please call it out, or I'm going to just try to go through and make sure I didn't miss it in the chat, but please call it out. We have a few more minutes, and then everybody is here to share. Sarah, I love Canva. Sade, did anybody else in New York connect with you? Sade is looking for somebody that may be in New York area.
Yes, I already connected with 2 other people.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I think there was a question, Jerry. Oh, Jerry said he had experience postpartum doulas, mom, very little English, ask questions on Word, and then a promotion. Yeah, yep. That's the way to do it. There's different software, and even in the phone, you can just speak into it, and then it will, you don't have to type it. So one of the apps that I have, you should literally speak into it, and then it just translates it into different languages, whatever language you want, German, Spanish, or whatever, and it just speaks it out right there for you. So that helps cut down some of the time. Okay. So was this helpful for you all? Did we hit on what we needed to when it comes to virtual interviews? Is there anything else that we need to add to one of our other topics about it? Or let me know, was this helpful? Jennifer said, great experience sharing the chat. Can you send the chat log? Yeah, I can send the chat log out. Kelly, practice your answers. Yeah, so that's really why I want to do that boot camp with practicing, because it really, the more you practice and you have your responses that are natural and prepared, but natural, and it comes off organically, that will help. And it helps with your confidence. So I definitely agree. Awesome. Command and interview. Yes, Naomi, you're correct. Command and interview. And one way of doing that is making sure you know your questions and know what you want to get through in the interview, for example. Yeah. So Melinda, are there specific resources you can send or post in the chat in regards to booklets or dad support? Yeah, I can send it out. There will be a whole lot more in the community, but I can send out one of the examples specific that I'm thinking of. I'll send that out in email. So I'll send out as a follow-up the chat. I will send out also the daddy guide that I created just as one of the examples. And then I will let you all know what the vote is when I tally up the vote is. So we're going to be talking about collaborations agency next week or multiples. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to honor our time. It's 1:02, and I try to keep it about an hour or so. I certainly stay longer. So if anybody wants to continue and have it more discussion, I certainly can. But I want to honor your time. So if you have to hop off, I definitely understand. I thank you so much for sharing this space with us today. But I'm going to go to the bottom. So if there's anything else, any other questions, I'm certainly going to make sure I answer them. Junko, oh great, I'm glad you're able to join. Junko had a wonderful event on breastfeeding this last week too. Antoinette, how do you get information on joining the community? I will send out, I'll add that also to the email. So you get a couple attachments with the email, y'all. Bear with me, but I want to make sure everybody has the information, so I'll send that out. Sade, any new tips for doulas in general? Any particular area? Like getting new clients, getting more confident, doing your packages, any particular area?
Honestly, everything. I feel like I don't know what I don't know yet. So
yeah.
It's just like all over the place. There's so many different things that I have questions about, but I just don't know like how to ask them.
Yeah.
So like anything in general, any little tidbits.
So what I would recommend, so it's two things. So you can always get a coach like myself that can help you as you figure out really setting up your practice, right? And what you want to offer. And in that, you'll figure out a lot of things of what you know, what you don't know, and things that you probably don't care about. So, but in that process of setting up your practice, because you're one of the newer ones, right? Like you
yeah.
Okay.
Less than a year.
Yeah. So as you're setting up your practice, then it will really weed out what you feel, areas that you feel confident in, areas that you're like, okay, I need to get more training in it, or I need to find some more help in it. So as you do that, and as you do that, you may want to get a coach. But in the meantime, continue being a part of these chats, can help. And in any areas afterwards, if you feel like you want to go into more detail about it, join the community. For sure, there'll be a lot of information in there, and more of these chats on a weekly basis on different topics as well as information. And then reach out to me. You have my email. Reach out to me if there's anything in particular you want to talk about, and we can see what works best for you, who we need to partner you up with, and things like that.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Topic for Julie had an idea: updated resource list so people to the public. Oh. Resources, virtual resources, like training. I don't know, Julie, are you still on? Julie may be gone. Okay, I think I get what you're saying. Resources that are available for we could definitely do that. Okay. So Naomi, so the membership is the subscription base. It's if you sign up before June 1st as a founding member, it's $33 a month. Subscription base. If after June 1st, anybody can certainly join, but it'll be a higher subscription cost. Veronica, thank you for being here. Happy for you to be here. Okay, so Julie signed up. Rosie, how do you access the past info from the meeting? So the PowerPoints, I usually send them out. If there's a particular meeting that you're interested in, let me know, and I can email it out to you. If not, all the videos of the meetings and past trainings are actually in the community.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, this is Antoinette. I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for your time, because this was very resourceful, and this information that you provided, a lot of people are charging money for it.
I know. And part of it, I'm a coach too, right? So I help doulas all day, every day with these things. But at the same time, I know where I came from. and I know the community I serve, and it's very diverse. And so I am on a mission to make sure that every doula has the resources they need, regardless of what they can afford, or regardless if they have one birth or 100 births under the belt, one client right now or no client. So I appreciate you joining and you sharing in this space. So that's exactly what it is. I just really wanted, and we've been doing this maybe 2 months or so now, but I just really wanted to be a space where doulas can feel empowered and have the hope, especially with all these changes going on with COVID and things, that our role is very unique and it's special, and we can still grind it out and do well and provide the value to our clients. And whatever I can do to help that collective, I'm all for it. So I thank you. Thank you, Antoinette, for joining us.
And I have one more question.
Yeah.
I actually have 2 coworkers. Well, one of them, her friend is pregnant, and then the other, her daughter is pregnant. So I gave them information of a doula, but I don't want to come off as pushy or like a salesperson. So do I just keep touching base, or just let it be, and if they need me, then they'll
yeah. So how far along are they?
One pretty new. One of them is not due till the fall.
So what I normally would do, what I would recommend is touch base with them, even if, and if it's somebody that you see, your co-workers you see on a daily basis or something like that, or work with on a daily basis, you can certainly do it more frequently. But I am a once a month person until they get into that 3rd trimester. And then depending on their case, their situation, or like if I think they're going to have a risky delivery or something like that, then I will go to once a week, just checking in. How you doing? Have you made a decision? Do you need anything? That sort of thing. So as they get closer, more frequent communications. But I would space it out probably once a month and check in now. Low pressure in the beginning. Yeah.
Hi, Bianca. My name is Gwendolyn.
Hi.
And this is my first time participating. I've sent my packet in, and I'm waiting for them to get my certification.
Okay.
I started out becoming a doula with South Phoenix Healthy Start, and I worked with them for a while, and I got to work with a couple of clients, but I'm waiting to become a postpartum doula.
Awesome.
And I really appreciate being able to come on in this Zoom meeting, because it's going to help me a lot. I do work with a lady who is, she worked with South Phoenix Healthy Start, and then she retired. And so she said she was going to help me out. And she's also a postpartum doula and a registered nurse.
Awesome.
And then I know a labor doula. And for right now, I'm retired. And for right now, I'm just going to focus on being a postpartum doula. But I think it's a great, it's a great service. I didn't even know about it. And I just look forward to being able to work and help young mothers, because you don't know what you don't know. So,
yeah. Kind of to Sade's question. Yeah.
Somebody there to help you. That's a blessing. And so
absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for joining. Thank you. I understand. I have a similar background where I could say now I was a doula for a number of years before I knew what a doula was. Just because my background and my expertise has always been in women's health. And so I was the one community members, family called on, or neighbors called on and said, "Oh, I'm pregnant." So what I do, or they knew. Just because they knew I knew the network, I knew the healthcare system, I knew, I keep very, especially with health disparities, I make sure that that's my bread and butter. I love being empowered by knowledge and sharing that. And so I was a doula way beforehand. So I definitely understand as well. I do.
And I can really appreciate the need. And sometimes I feel guilty because my daughter, she went to school and got married, and she lived out of state. I mean, way out of state. I'm in Arizona and she's in Atlanta. And poor thing, she had those 4 kids, and I could only come out because I was still working for a couple of weeks. The most I stayed with her was a month. But she really demonstrated to me how much people need doulas and people by their side
That's right.
And especially if they're away from their family there, and or if they don't have family, whatever. But a doula is a special person to have around.
It is. That's why I want us to make sure we're empowered and we're able to move forward regardless of what's happening in our environment. I'm prior military, and a lot of my clients are military. So doing virtual I've been doing it for a minute, way before COVID, for those very reasons, and I grew up military family. Like, I know what it's like to not be with your, my grandmama wasn't around, my mom not around, and people you work with, but you don't want them in your hospital room. Like, you want to, so the role of doula, especially for those who are transplanted in different places and may not have the support system that they ideally would want to have when they're going through the pregnancy journey, is so valuable. Totally get it.
Okay, thank you again. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Tashana, I don't know if you're still on, but you're saying, do I do a welcome video for each client? I do a welcome package for each client, so it's a template, and I just update it. The video is actually a standard video that I have. I don't do it for each client. This is my first time away from my certification. Yeah, still kind of a great place for support. Oh, good. So anybody in Southern California, the Doulas Association of Southern California, they have a chat also. So that's great. Okay, so I'm just going to go through the comments. If there's any others that I need to get to, please let me know. Veronica, you're saying recording of the chat is helpful. Oh, she had to go. Mr. Previous hours. So the PowerPoint will go out to the email. The chat recording, the video recording, is actually available in the doula community. Had to jump off. Oh, Meredith, well, awesome. She has an interview for midwife school. Fabulous. Okay, so I think that's that. So I will do a last call. Any last questions or anything that we need to chat about? No? All right. Well, I am honored that you all are with me and stayed over 15 minutes after our time. So I'm honored, and I appreciate you joining me in this space, and I appreciate you sharing your experiences. And if one of us gets stronger from our conversation, then it definitely is worthwhile. So I appreciate it. And I'm here. So reach out to me if you have any questions. Email me if you're interested in the joining the community, or if you want to follow up and have a chat about anything. I appreciate it, and happy Friday and Memorial Day weekend and almost end of May month to everybody. See you all later.